for joining our show on
V&E Snack and Talking Snack Time.
Cool. First, we're actually going to be talking about our sponsors for today's episode, actually.
Yes.
So, our first sponsor is Tim Hortons. Woo! Thank you so much, Tim Hortons,
Thank you for keeping our stomachs full and our bank accounts empty. So, our second sponsor is actually definitely better than Tim Hortons. It's called Please Give Me a Good Grade. It's an amazing, incredible, just the platform that it has. And let me just tell you, CEOs of the company.
The CEOs of Please Get Me Good Grades, Mary and Sherry.
They're amazing.
They're amazing.
They're legends.
They're so generous and they're incredible. So big thank you to Mary and Sherry,
thank you
the
for
CEOs of Please Give Me Good Grades.
Please give me good grades.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get back on track.
Okay.
So today is going to be a special episode where we're going to be covering media logic. Now, I don't know if anybody who's watching actually knows what that is. It might be a new conversation or topic for you. So let's give you like a little breakdown of what it is. So media logic is essentially a theory that examines content production, including the news. The news is actually a big, I guess, part of media logic. So this is all kind of theorized and talked about by Alcide. And he actually gives his own definition, which is this. It is a form of communication and the process through which media transmits and communicates information. That was a lot of big words, so I'm going to give a nice little summary. So essentially, it looks at how certain media is constructed and what it is communicating, and then it looks at how the construction impacts and is also absorbed and taken in by the viewers, because everybody can absorb something and absorb it differently. They might like it, they might hate it, but at the end of the day, it's looking at how it's constructed, and certain parts of it might have been the reason why people
have different reactions.
Yeah, it's another interesting thing to look at, because according to this, I did some research. It was, it's Theories and Principles. It's an article that actually looks at it. It stated that media sociology has also shown very clearly that news and politics are immersed in that entertainment format. And media logic looks at how it's usually all formatted for the sake of entertainment, which is really interesting, because you have stuff like news, which you think is absolutely true, absolutely like here to tell the truth and the reality
for the people,
when in reality it actually is formatted in a way that you find it entertaining or you react well. It's almost kind of manipulative, but
because it wants the viewer to stay with it.
It wants the viewers to actually want to hear what's happening, because at the end of the day it almost feels like they're doing it just to make money, and that's actually a good question to look at. So a good example to kind of show you is the baby goat advertisement that we saw together. Yeah. So it's this commercial that actually is talking about. Yeah. So it was a commercial to spread awareness of diabetes, and the way they decided to portray this is by showing cute baby goats. Okay. And the way they formatted, obviously, was thinking, what if we put baby goats? Will this make people more aware? And in my opinion, I actually liked it. Like, I was watching because I'm like, oh, cute baby goats. But then I was actually reading what was on the screen, and I'm like, I might have diabetes. With the amount of food we're eating at this rate.
Let's not mention that.
Yeah.
But it's funny you say that, because from watching the same exact video, I felt a different way. Yes, I was watching the baby goats, and yes, they were cute, and at the same time, I was reading the text, but it was so distracting to me. There's so many things happening, and I was reading it, but it just wasn't registering to me. I'm like, diabetes, okay. But then,
but baby goats.
But baby goats, exactly. Like, it didn't have that connection with me that it should have had. And that's why it, kind of distracted me. It took me away from the whole point of, beware that you might have this condition. But I didn't get that. Yeah.
Okay. So would you say you liked it, or you didn't like it for that sense?
I didn't like it because the message of it didn't go through me.
Okay.
But the baby goats. I like the baby goats.
Okay. Well, that was a perfect example of how media logic can actually apply. Because you have something that is constructed a certain way with the intention to bring attention to diabetes, and you have me that liked it and actually thought it was successful, and then you have Nino who thought it was unsuccessful because it took away the attention. So that's a great example of what we're going to be talking about. But unfortunately, and kind of fortunately, we're not going to be talking about baby goats today.
Yeah, maybe next time.
We will actually be focusing on something else, which is Hallmark Christmas
So basically, they're just a collection of Christmas movies. They're usually following a female protagonist, and the female protagonist is usually trying to find something in her life. That something is love. So she's trying to find love in her life, and she goes through this very life-changing journey where she goes through a bunch of obstacles. She finds herself, she finds other people, she finds out who she truly is, she finds out what she wants. Basically, she discovers the whole entire world.
And during Christmas.
During Christmas. Some people do describe it as cheesy.
Yeah.
And
I would definitely call it cheesy. Essentially, are they rom-coms or just romance?
I guess
I would consider them comedy.
You don't know. They're romance dramas.
Romance dramas.
Yeah.
But they have this very clean look to it. Like, very clean, very stagey looking, but very flowered up and pretty.
Yeah. So it can be.
And I'm pretty sure their audience is aimed to be like women.
Yeah, exactly.
Women at all most ages, but I'm looking at probably adult women to all the way down.
Hallmark movies can be distributed pretty much on a lot of platforms that exist in this society. They did start coming out on the Hallmark channel originally, though. Got established on August 5th, 2001 after it underwent they had a couple different names. They had yeah, I don't remember exactly which ones, but in 2001 of August they changed their name to Hallmark Channel, and since then it's been Hallmark Channel. And actually in 2009 they started this thing called the Christmas Countdown.
Really?
Where they have a movie counting down Christmas from like July. Yeah. Yeah. This year is their 10th anniversary of doing the Christmas
anniversary. That's
countdown.
Interesting. I didn't even know Hallmark had their.
Yeah, they're pretty intense about their Christmas. Intense.
I've seen most of them through the W channel, which is I think W channel is the women's channel,
right?
And I don't know if that's the Canadian one. I'm pretty sure it's the Canadian channel. So. Yeah, that's where I usually see them. And I've actually started seeing Netflix start to produce some of their own.
Netflix is definitely getting
hopping in on that.
Yeah, inspiration from Hallmark. Excuse me. From Hallmark Christmas movies, and they're trying to make it into their own because they see how successful. Yeah. After all, cheesy or not, Hallmark movies, especially Christmas movies, they're really successful.
So successful.
I believe in 2005 there was a movie that was the second most viewed movie in Canada, and it was a Hallmark Christmas movie. It was pretty intense. So yeah, now big platforms like Netflix, Prime, Hulu, they're trying to get inspiration from the. So we also have another connection. The Connection, it's a podcast. There's a couple guys also doing what we're kind of doing, but obviously without the picture. They're called Deck the Hallmark. Get that? Deck the Hallmark? Anyways. So basically it's a podcast with 3 guys, and they watch every single Christmas Hallmark movie that comes out.
Every single one?
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yes. And they critique it.
Fun.
Yeah, there's one guy who doesn't like it, there's one guy who does like it, and then there's like one middle ground person.
That's smart.
And then they just like debate about the movie, they talk about the movie, they review it, they say what they like, they say what they don't like, but it's been pretty successful because they've been doing it for every single movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's cute. Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I kind of want to check that out now.
I know.
And maybe they should check us out. So a huge thing about media logic is you're supposed to look at the construction of how it is made, because that construction essentially influences how viewers intake that media. So one thing that we're going to try to break down, and we could just kind of brainstorm it because it's pretty obvious if you've seen a few Hallmark movies.
Even if you haven't seen, you know what they're about.
Yeah, honestly, absolutely. I have a really interesting quote here that talks about the format and why it's important, back from Cited or this dude, and he says, the combination of designated formats and the required workflows to efficiently create them can lead to narrowed frames of references. This is because rather than figuring out how best to share information, often the job is figuring out how best to put the information into the required format. So he's talking more about that format and construction, because at the end of the day, it's not actually, sometimes it's not even about the content that's created or presented, but more so figure out how to best fit it into these requirements in the format, which honestly kind of sucks. And being film students,
it's hard.
Yeah, it feels like you're not doing it for the art anymore, but rather doing it to get
fit
it
the format.
to fit the format.
Yeah.
But I also understand why it's used because if it's efficient, if it's the best way to make money, and you know it's gonna get you views, then why not use it? Why not use it?
It's there for you to utilize.
Yeah, it's a much more stable option rather than making everything willy-nilly and then you spend all this money and time and then everyone actually hates it.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about how Hallmark Christmas movies are constructed.
Ooh.
Do you want to start the brainstorm?
Of course. So Hallmark movies, they have a very specific step-by-step format, if you will. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to put all those little sub-steps into 3 huge steps, and we're going to sum up every single Hallmark movie for you guys. So
literally, you don't even have to watch them. It's just us talking about it right now. Literally
3 easy peasy steps. Okay, so first step being, there's a single woman. She's either a mom, a single mom, or just like she feels very isolated. She feels very alone.
She's a workaholic. She doesn't have time for romance or Christmas. She doesn't want all of that. She doesn't want any of that. She is single, independent, and
strong
she knows
woman.
what she wants. And
she don't need no man. Basically,
but that sounds really good. I don't know why they'd start off with that one. Yeah, it opens up with this main character.
With the main character who's usually female.
And usually white.
Usually alone. Sometimes a single mom.
It starts off with this because it's presenting what they want to change later on. They're trying to make a character that most women who aren't in love can relate to or at least want her to find that love.
So then there comes step 2. So after all of that, with a one poor lonely woman, there comes a handsome white man. Of course.
Essentially. Yeah. And he's usually, honestly, he's probably associated with...
Charming.
Yeah, he's a Prince Charming. He's associated with Christmas somehow because he's going to bring the joy of Christmas.
His name is either Chris or Nick or
Mark.
Noel. Or Mark.
Yeah, something like that.
Definitely one of the 4.
He's very successful. He's probably either a doctor or maybe he's a chef.
A famous chef.
Or he has something to do with Christmas. He's a businessman. He has money. He's already successful. He's well off. And that's what makes him good to the main character. But the thing is, he has to be a contrast to whatever the main character is already.
Completely different.
Yeah, so if she's a workaholic, he's a family guy. If she's I hate Christmas, he's you should love Christmas. I love Christmas. I'm going to show you the joy of the world.
Pretty much, yeah.
And to convince the main character that what she has right now isn't what actually she wants.
And at first the woman's oh, ew, I don't like you. You're so different. But then here comes step 3. So after all of that and after all of the, oh gosh, we're too different to be together, they end up falling in love with each other, and they kiss under mistletoe, of course.
Probably, honestly.
Of course. By the fireplace, under mistletoe.
While it's snowing.
As soon as the kiss starts snowing.
It starts to snow to the cheesy music.
Something magical, right?
I feel that.
And then that's how the movie usually ends. Basically, happy endings all around.
So, honestly, looking at how it's constructed, it follows a really, really easy plot line. I don't know if you guys know the 3 arcs of movies.
It's just like that. They never understand. They don't.
Such an easy plot line.
Understand.
And it always fits this same sort of arc. And to be fair, most movies do follow that regular plot line arc.
Yeah.
But
it is a plot line for a reason. But
it's always the same thing for this one.
For the Hallmark ones.
For the Hallmark movies,
as soon as you start watching it, you know exactly
what's going to happen. Moving on, we're actually going to be talking about how people do intake Hallmark movies and the actual impacts and whether people do like it or they don't. So going back to Althide, he's quoted again, "Not all media will be accepted in the same way by all audiences, but even the divergence will be informed by a familiar logic. Social context is very important in shaping experiences, expectations, and standards." So we're going to talk about our opinions, because this is when we do the smack talk. Because these are our smacks.
And then here comes
our
smack talk.
So we're going to give our own opinions, and then maybe we can see online and see how other people actually approach them as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about our views on Hallmark movies. So what do you think about them?
You gotta love them. You have to watch at least one at Christmas. Okay. At least one. Okay, tell me why you don't like them.
Okay. So I'm if it hasn't obvious, I am pretty against them. I hate them with a passion. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them.
Why?
Because, first of all, does it help that, which is weirdly enough, it's not my mom that watches them. It's my dad. And he watches them 24/7. Like, it's, and I hate how they almost, like, antagonize being an independent woman. Like, I love that. And when I see her working hard, she's a single mom, I'm inspired. I'm like, that's great. That's what I want. But then they switch it out in the end by making her more dependent on a man and realizing that, like, love is the answer. And you know what? That's cool if that ends up happening to you in real life. But for me, I personally think that that's not a good way to encourage that. I feel like it's almost, I grew up watching these since I was younger, and it really messes with my mind when I think that I have to find true love. And honestly, when I was in high school, it made me think I need a boyfriend. Like, I need to find that happy ending. And it wasn't until I got into college that I personally thought, what? I don't. I was like, I don't need that. And I hate how society and media influence that mindset. Okay, another problem I actually end up having as well, which actually ends up kind of going against, like, it's kind of directly insulting media logic, which is kind of weird, but it is the fact that it's always the same format that bothers me.
Yes.
Like, there's no, like, there's the slightest hint of variety when they change the career and the person, but it's the fact that it always follows that same
it just takes
flow
a
line.
detour, but it always
ends up in the same place, and it's always the same plot line, and that bothers me because I get sick of it. Like, it just feels too mainstream and overrated at this, right? Which you can argue is that's what they are, and you're right.
But also, I feel like we think this way because we're studying film, so we're more into analyzing the film. I feel like
for those who
older people, or like for those
my dad
too, like our parents are more likely just to watch it for the fun of watching it. Like, they don't really analyze what's going on. They see a movie and they're like, cool, I'm gonna watch it. Like, cool, I like that, I'm gonna watch the second one, because they're familiar with the pattern of the media logic that's happening in the Hallmark movies, and they stick to it because they know what's gonna happen. It's kind of like mindless entertainment for them, but they still enjoy being entertained by that type of media logic.
You're right.
So it depends on the person too, right?
So that's just another thing that I personally don't like about it.
No, but I get that.
Yeah, the fact that it follows such a strict code of, like, format. Like, you know, we must have the characters meet at this point, and then we're going to introduce that love triangle, and then there's the climax, and then they're going to get back together while it's snowing, and then they're going to kiss under the mistletoe. It's like, it's so
You know what I heard?
What?
Apparently, at 17 minutes, that's when the characters fall in love. We should test that out. 17 minutes into the movie.
That's when they should fall in love?
That's when they should fall in love.
That's so early. Aren't movies supposed to be like an hour and 20 minutes?
Yeah, but apparently that's when they, like, show their interest. Or one of them shows their interest. So, we should test it out, and so should you.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. That's interesting. Speaking of interesting, I have another quote to throw in, because this is actually really cool. And this one was from a different website talking about the importance and impacts of media logic. And it says here that in line with Bordeaux's concerns, I don't know. Oh, Bordeaux is another person who was talking about media logic. Concerns over the impact and infiltration of mass media on society. Al-Thide examined how the spread of media logic through social media and digital technologies not only impact content creation, but numerous everyday life activities as, quote-unquote, audiences, as actors normalize these forms and use them as a reality maintenance tool. That was a lot of big words.
Yeah.
I'll sum it up. This is another reason why I'm not a fan, and I kind of overlapped it with what I was saying in my first point, is that why I don't like this format and these movies, because of what it portrays and because of its lack of representation. People can easily subconsciously intake this as what reality should be.
Yeah.
And I feel like, yeah, you can make the argument some people just wanted blind entertainment, but it's hard to ignore that media does influence us regardless, or whether we want to or not. And sometimes media can control us. So constantly watching these movies and seeing them fall in love and letting that be more important than their job can subconsciously make people think this is where I should be at in my life. And that can be a really dangerous mindset. Like, women who are single, who are job oriented might watch this movie and think that they're the ones who are wrong. Being called out, and that they're the ones that should be falling in love right now. And then, quote unquote, as this article said, use them as reality maintenance tools, which isn't healthy. Using this quote as kind of talking about media logic, this is another one point that I think can kind of see how Hallmark romance Christmas movies can be negatively impacted, because it's showing these milestones that we should be hitting, and then for people who aren't hitting it, or people who don't agree with it, might think that they're in the wrong, when in reality it shouldn't. Like, this is a movie compared to real life, and real life doesn't happen that way. Honestly, I'm talking smack about Hallmark movies, but they're kind of addicting to watch.
Exactly. That's why they're so successful. That's why they've been running since 2001 officially as Hallmark. Officially. But even before then, they've been running, right?
Because even sometimes, as much as I hate them, I'll join my dad and watch it.
Exactly.
Because it's like soap operas. I'm not proud to say that I watch soap operas. But when, you hear like crying and the screaming, I'm like, I want to watch this.
Once again, contradicting your point of like, oh, this is a dangerous mindset, and I do agree, it is a dangerous mindset, but
it's just
I
fun.
think what they're trying to portray is like a Christmas miracle, like you're living your life through the main character's perspective, and every time that character gets something like good out of life, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so proud for them, because you're kind of put into their own shoes, and then you're kind of going along the journey with them, so it kind of brings you into the movie and into the characters that way, and that's kind of what makes it addictive, because
it's nice.
It's like, dangerous to live your life through them, but that's what you are doing.
There's a nice little, that's what anybody watches movies for, just to feel something. Exactly. So if it's giving you a nice feeling of warmth, happiness,
it's all about
Christmas,
happy endings.
Happy endings, then, enjoy them. So this is why you can see how it's intake, and you can see how it can be good, can be bad,
or both, or mixed.
But this was a really good example of how people can absorb media in so many ways. So many. Like, we're saying this, you could probably have other people who just blatantly just hate it for the sake of they're cheesy, they're like this, or you could
somebody
have other
can
people
have, like the biggest fan of
a romantic must love this stuff. They probably would love it.
And some people just wouldn't care. They would be like, whatever. But there's so many different opinions. It's one platform, one media logic,
one construction,
but like tens and thousands of different opinions.
I agree.
It's crazy.
But going back to why media logic is important, and why recognizing that Hallmark movies impacts are also important to look at, is just because overall media logic will always affect you, and it's good to be aware of what it's doing, and good to be aware of that. Sometimes it's just entertainment, and that's a good thing to recognize, but other formats as well, which include documentaries, how documentaries are formatted, how news is formatted, how rom-coms, horror movies, YouTube channels nowadays, kids shows, everything has a sort of format, construction that's specific.
Even us. Routines. That's a format.
That honestly is a format.
We're living in a format.
This is... oh my god. Do we even control ourselves?
Whoa.
Overall, recognizing that media logic is a thing and understanding how it impacts you can really let you have more control over how you intake it and be smart about it, because in a world where internet is starting to definitely take over, and you can hear anything, being aware of what's possibly fake news, being aware that sometimes news isn't portraying a reality but just filling in a format, can really help you be more aware of the world around you and more aware of yourself and what you believe in and how you want to live your life. So I think recognizing media logic is super important, and that's why we did this episode. Totally not because we have an assignment due, but because we want to inform you.
We need to inform the viewers. We need to inform
what
ourselves.
Media logic is. That is why we're doing this.
And before we wrap up, we have a quick little activity here. So we have a list of the older movies of the Hallmark Channel, and the brand new spanking ones over here. And we're just going to read the plot lines and just differentiate how much of a change from 2009 to 2019 it really is. So it's 10 years. Here, a movie called 12 Men for Christmas. 12 Men for Christmas. And basically, it's about a high-powered New York City publicist.
There it is.
And she finds herself in Montana promoting a charity calendar after being betrayed by her boss and fiance. Unfortunately, matters of the heart are just as complicated in the wilds as they are in the big city. So she ends up finding love in a small town and settling down with him. So step 2 and 3.
Step 2 and 3. Perfect.
Right,
okay, let's do some other ones.
Okay, so the second one, we'll do Farewell, Mr. Kringle?
Yeah, Mr. Kringle.
Farewell, Mr. Kringle. A widowed blogger.
Widowed. Step 1.
Exactly. Alone. Step 1. She visits the town of Mistletoe to discover a story about a very special tradition about the Santa Claus in that town. And as the journalist gets to know the town and its people, she begins to put her own tragic past behind her. And, of course, she also does end up finding love.
3 steps.
And last movie, Meet My Mom. So this one was kind of different and heartwarming. I didn't expect to find this sort of movie.
Okay.
But, so it's a U.S. soldier serving in Afghanistan, and he becomes a father figure to a lonely boy who writes to him back in California. And when the soldier returns from tour of duty, romance begins to blossom between him and the boy's divorced mother.
That one's sweet.
That one's sweet, but they changed it.
It was about the guy.
It was about the guy. He was alone. Then he goes back to visit the boy, and then he falls in love with the mom.
I like that. Okay, so it shows that it can still follow the format, but change it up.
Yeah, so that's the older ones.
I appreciate that. So what year was the old ones coming from?
They're 2009 and 2010.
Okay. So these ones are
all brand new.
2019, which is this year. Wow, how did they pump these out? Like, it's not even Christmas yet.
I know, they've been starting since July.
Okay. So the first one we have is called Merry Christmas Match, with match in all caps. And the plot is for Corey's a girl. Everything's fine and well until a visitor, a dude, shows up at her mom's antique shop. Their interaction causes Corey to ask one major question. Why did she follow her dream of becoming a theater director? And more importantly, is it too late? It kind of contrasts the third point, which is when she just chooses love over her job, because it's kind of encouraging her. I like that. Actually, now that I think about it, 2019, I feel like they're being more encouraging.
But in all the posters, they're like the couples.
I know, that's true. Okay, let's see another one. Yeah. Christmas wishes and mistletoe kisses. Ew!
So corny.
Okay, so the plot is, even in the cheery world of Hallmark, the holidays are insanely stressful. For God. Abby, December brings a new job as an interior designer and a potential love interest who just so happens to be her brand new boss. Things get complicated, to say the least. Okay.
Yeah.
But I feel like this one kind of followed the stereotypical format. Well, okay, whatever. Third one is Picture a Perfect Christmas. So the plot is, the best things in life can be unexpected, which is true for this young sports photographer. Is this the girl?
Yes.
It is the girl. Yeah, sports photographer who moves back home to care for her grandmother. While there, she meets a man who needs someone to care for his nephew. And you guessed it, she's happy to lend a helping hand. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that one was a straight up 1, 2, 3. What the heck? She's a sports photographer.
At least their careers are changing, I guess.
Yeah, but she needs a man who's
yeah.
just like, I want you to care for my nephew because apparently I can't be a good father figure.
I guess not.
Criticizing it. Ooh! Okay, so this one's called The Christmas Miracle. And they're black! Whoa! Diversity! I am so happy. What the heck? Okay, in the movie, single mom Emma is looking for a miracle to nail the perfect story for her lifestyle magazine, which leads her to an unexpected romance. I'm okay with that because there's diversity, but it also single mom.
Still follows the plot line.
Still follows the plot line, but you know, if the audience is for moms and single moms, that makes sense to me. But honestly, diversity, that's perfect. Okay, the last one is The Christmas Club. So the plot is, just when they thought they were too busy to find love, Olivia Bennett and Edward Taylor. These are such fancy names.
I know, right?
Olivia so typical. Bennett. Olivia Bennett and Edward Taylor.
Oh, Edward and Olivia.
Meet while helping an elderly woman track down her lost savings. Along the way, they figure out what they're really missing. Each other.
Wow, that just really...
At least they both kind of start off as too busy to but then they say that they're too busy to find love, which kind of has a sort of negative connotation. But.
Yeah.
Well, honestly,
in 10 years, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. There's more diversity.
There's more diversity, and you know what?
But this is 1 out of 5.
That's true.
So
they're on their way to step it up to put more variety, but you can kind of get the point that they're still following a very
1, 2, 3
similar
step by step,
like track.
Maybe some variations,
construction.
But like
it's pretty much the same
like
thing.
4 out of the 5 critiques that we just read were 1, 2, 3.
But I guess that's what makes it a Hallmark movie, right?
Yeah,
that's what makes it a Hallmark movie. And honestly, what did you expect?
Yeah, exactly. So to wrap everything up, we actually have a question for you. So one of our questions is, what do you think makes Christmas Hallmark movies so timeless that it's still running after such a long time? We've discussed this before, so we'll leave it up to you. We've shared our opinions. We've read the plot lines 10 years apart, a whole entire decade, and they're still timeless. So what do you think? What's the reason behind that?
Listen to them.
Oh, really?
Oh, that was. I like that point.
That was a good answer.
That was a good one. And then we also have a second question.
Yes, we do.
Which is, what do you think will happen to Hallmark movies in another 10 years?
Do you think that they'll still be timeless?
Or do you think that maybe people will demand some different things?
Maybe the audience will become smarter, start to analyze stuff, and just...
I mean, with 10 years comes a newer generation.
Exactly.
And honestly, that can change a whole lot of things.
Exactly.
Like, I don't even know what I expected from 10 years. Honestly, what do you think about media logic in 10 years as well? Like, do you think things will still follow that same format? Because we're seeing so many new things now, like, everyone's calling things fake news. So is it actually gonna, or is it gonna be real news?
I know, right?
Like, looking at how media logic can develop in the future is a really interesting question.
Yeah. Because
there's so many new formats coming out every day. Like, even if you checked out 20 years ago, YouTube wasn't a format. But now it's huge. Instagram, Snapchat, all of these new social media platforms are new formats that you can look under the new media.
Even
media
like
logic
Vine and TikTok and
TikTok,
Musical.ly.
websites, like all these apps and all these social medias and everything you could use on your phone, your laptop. These are all new things that are popping up now. So I feel like those can also influence how people feel about Hallmark movies.
Yes.
And I think, again, like looking at Netflix, because I actually watched Netflix version of a Hallmark cheesy Christmas movie. I watched it last year. It was actually good. The main character was black and her romance interest was like Spanish. It was like diversity, and at the end of the movie she still got the career she wanted.
See, that's the type of diversity we want to see.
Yeah. And I think new platforms like Netflix, Hulu,
Prime,
Amazon Prime, I think these guys are going to be coming up with new ways to implement what people want, but also still manage to shift the format. And you never know, maybe we'll start a new format because we're going to film.
Just watch out for us.
Watch out for us.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to wrap up. Thank you for joining us on Viennese Snack and Talking Snack Time. Join us next time as we talk about
more stuff.
More smack talk about other stuff.
With more snacks.
Thank you
for letting us talk about this stuff.
Yeah,
it's such a great opportunity.
I genuinely liked it. Like, we were presenting it, obviously not because it was an assignment, but because we wanted to. But it gave us a great opportunity to be talking and actually discussing these things, for sure.
All right, so thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you for listening to us.
Okay,
we're going to head out.
Bye.
Bye.